attraction take you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you to everyone joining us today. My name is Jyoti Singh. Welcome to Deep Dives with Duniya, accessing spirituality through African dance. I am a caramel-colored South Asian woman, cisgender, with medium length black wavy hair, wearing a green and white shirt and lipstick today for the first time in a few months. I have the distinct honor to present our panelists today. We have with us today Ojia Cruz Banks, Elby Schooley, Uzo Wangpa, and Cara Mack. And to bring us into this space, set our intention and inspire us, I am honored to hand it over to the one and only Mack, Miss Cara Mack. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cara Mack. I am a caramel complexion shawty from the South with the country accent. I am wearing lipstick as well, red lipstick, and I have on a Power to the People shirt representing the continent of Africa. And today I have the pleasure of bringing my culture from the South, a style of music called Negro spirituals. And it is a way to encourage, inspire, and also get people ready to probably do something that's scary or challenging in your life. And so this particular song is called Ain't Gonna Let Nobody. And yes, I said ain't gonna let nobody. So when you sing these lyrics, you have to have the country slang and the improper grammar. That's what you're supposed to do. So the lyrics are, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down to freedom land. and you go, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Then you go, ain't gonna let racism turn me around. And then you're gonna say, ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. And it is a call and response type of song. And here we go. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, oh, turn me around, yeah, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down a freedom land. Ain't gonna let racism turn me around, oh, turn me around, yeah, turn me around. Ain't gonna let racism turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down a freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around, oh, turn me around, yeah, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down a freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, oh, turn me around, yeah, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down a freedom land. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down a freedom land. Last time I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching down a freedom land. Thank you.
Cara, thank you so much. So at this point, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. I have witnessed both very succinct and in-depth land acknowledgements, and I am humbly and respectfully attempting to create one here. I'm presenting from unceded Ramaytush Ohlone land. As I've learned through organizations that are doing this work really, really well, land acknowledgements are disruptions. They are a call to learn and unlearn and a call to action. In my preparation for this land acknowledgement, I have realized how little I know about the Ramaytush Ohlone people and the land that I am on. In my learning, I have been thinking about the connection between my kind of Indian and the Indians of the Americas. We share the name of the colonizer united in the stupidity of Christopher Columbus, or so the story goes. When I was a kid growing up in Georgia, I remember many instances of being asked by white classmates or strangers, what kind of Indian are you, dot or feather? My ancestors were subjected to European colonization, and many of the diverse Adivasi or indigenous tribes of South Asia were and are subject to genocide. Our ways of thinking have been subjected to colonial ideologies, just like our indigenous friends. But when I look at the relationship we have here in the US today, I mainly see the ways in which South Asian communities have looked to whiteness and to the land, to stolen land ownership. That's what we've prioritized as a community. And so in considering the land that I occupy uninvited, I also look outward to my South Asian community to deepen our solidarity Indian to Indian. I invite the audience to use the chat feature, both in Facebook or if you're on the Zoom, to acknowledge the land you occupy. And I believe that Chelsea's also sharing some resources in the chat as well. I also wanted to acknowledge that many people where I am situated right now are becoming and have become climate refugees from the fires that are raging. And before I jumped on this call, I was packing a preparedness bag in case we have to evacuate. So I really want to just send from Duniya a lot of support and love for all of our people who are being affected by the fires right now. There are a lot of people who have made this happen today. I want to thank Yanika Huck from Lemon from Heaven for handling all the tech aspects of this. Chelsea Boyd Brown, who's our managing director, our marketing consultant, Sean Tamarabuchi, and our ASL interpreters, Andrea Lochan and Robin Glover. And just remind everyone that if for some reason there's some technological difficulty, I was inspired by the organization Art Equity in this wording to wait till the virtual cosmos realign and just take some deep breaths. And so the last thing I'm going to say, because I want to be able to pass the mic on to our presenters today, I just want to frame why we are doing this today. As an organization, Duniya's mission is to preserve traditional art forms and to support culture bearers. We aim to put traditional arts in the center and artists of color on stage and support artists economically. Personally, this means I use my colonial education to access funding from city, state, and private organizations to support producing performances, events, and classes. As a culture bearer myself, teaching and performing dance from Punjab in India and Pakistan, one of the aspects that's drawn me into this as a career is the wholeness of traditional arts, the integration with life. And there's so much information we don't usually have time to explore in depth in an hour-and-a-half class where people are paying to sweat and to smile. But the context, the foundation, the essence of our art forms is at the heart of who we are as a company and what we aim to do. So we decided to look at the opportunity that our shelter in place has presented and launch Deep Dives with Duniya, since we're all stuck at home and we have you, a captive audience. And the first person I spoke to about this was Elvie Schooley, and she was the one who proposed this topic of spirituality and African dance. And I think the spirits guided the rest of this panel composition. I'm honored to be here with all these incredible Black women who I'm blessed enough to call my friends and my sisters, and whom my children call auntie or gummy. We have conversations informally about who has access to African dance, what it means to people of different races and ethnicities, pedagogy, and on and on. So I wanted to block out the white noise for a short amount of time and make these conversations available to a wider audience and center the lived experience of these phenomenal Black women. The last thing I'm going to say, we're asking if you find yourself inspired, as you undoubtedly will by this event today, that the audience members who have means donate to our fundraiser for the Duniya Center for Arts and Education in Conakry, Guinea, where there was recently a fire. The Duniya Center for Arts and Education offers artists and administrators courses in computer literacy, language instruction, and business skills. In addition, artists at the Duniya Center take language classes, increasing their opportunity to work with students and artists from abroad, and are able to use this space for rehearsals and classes. Recently, the Duniya Center has been active in COVID relief efforts, distributing masks, food, and cleaning products, and you'll find more information through our slides throughout the presentation, and also about our Patreon, which is a platform we're using to help support the center as well as our classes. Okay, so without further ado, I am going to turn this over to our first presenter. Each of our panelists will present, and then we'll take a short break after the first two, who are Ojia and Elvie. After the break, we'll have Cara and Uzo, and after that, we'll hear them in conversation with each other, and there'll be time to take questions from the audience at the very end. So I'm going to turn this now over to Ojia Cruz Banks.
Hello, everybody. The clip that was filmed was on native Shawnee, Chippewa, Miami, and Delaware ancestral land in Ohio, also known as the Spring Valley Reserve. I take my daughter there for walks and play by the creek. My name is Ojia Cruz Banks. I am of Black African American heritage from Alabama, Kentucky, Louisiana. I'm also of North Pacific Island heritage from the island of Guam or Guahan. 2 years ago, I returned to the US after living in Aotearoa, New Zealand for over 10 years. Now I live in Central Ohio with my family, not far from the location in the video where my daughter instinctually gave libation after my dance. I am a dancer anthropologist, very much inspired by the work of Catherine Dunham, as well as Halifu Usmari. Some of my teachers are Moses Sirwada, Wilhelmina Taylor, Mustafa Bangora, Yusuf Kumbasa, Perry Gilmore, Ali Gray, Tako Sissoko, and Sitan Chore. I've studied dance in Guinea, in Mali, in Senegal, and also in Uganda. I work at Denison University in the Department of Dance, where I teach courses such as African Diaspora dance, freestyle and house, as well as Black dance and popular culture. In the classes that I teach about Black African diasporic dance, I describe African dance as kin, or a big baobab family tree that is a center of cultural gravity, of water, of land, of spirit, of sky, of music. I call it ancestral funds of knowledge in the blood, a choreography of resilience, of healing, of decolonization. It is infinite expansion of Black soul, of one Dada. I want to first express my gratitude to the Duniya family for organizing this. I want to acknowledge all of the incredible fellow panelists, many of my close sister friends and comrades. What an awesome opportunity it is to think about Black dance, African dance from our unique trajectories as Black African women. How I come to understand African dance as a source or a practice of spirituality is a story that starts with my family. They taught me that dance, which is synonymous with music, which is synonymous with song, or musicality is a family affair. They taught me in the church and in the living room that song and dance is about communing. It's about galvanizing soul. It's about accessing joy during our triumphs as well as in our tribulations. I became a dancer in my grandmother's living room, and I became a singer in the church. I've got some moves I can dance. I've got some moves I can dance. If I die and my soul gets lost, I've got some moves I can dance. Over the last 5 years, I have become really interested in the unique ways in which African Americans conceptualize African dance. And one of the things that I have realized through my research and through my practice and through my conversations with my sisters is that it is a way for us to remedy educational debt. It is a way to address the miseducation of our hearts, of our souls, of our identities. How we use it as a lifeline for healing and for the celebration of Black joy, Black soul, Black freedom. Also, how we use it to process and transcend the pain, the recapitulation of racial violence, how we use it to get through this pandemic. One of the research projects that I did with the founder of African Dance International, Jeanette Jackson, she shared with me her genealogy of African dance and shared with me the way in which it revolutionized her identity as a Black African American woman. And this was a story that really resonated with me. And I think it was one of the reasons why when I found African dance, I realized that I had finally found one of the puzzle pieces of my identity that were missing. But she talked about taking classes with Yusuf Kumbasa for the first time, hearing the power of the djembe drum for the first time, and feeling her self-esteem, her sense of community grow more expansive, grow stronger, more pride in herself. And in this research project, we discovered that it was through that powerful experience of finding the drum, of finding the dance, that led her to be a prolific dance educator in the Los Angeles area, where she serves so many children, particularly Black and brown children, and introduces them to their inheritance as Black African people. It's a beautiful story of cultural transformation through dance. When I first started out in African dance, I was super inspired to share the practice in the schools where I lived. And at that time I was living in Tucson, Arizona. And so I went into one of the performing arts school and I set up a residency. And one of the things that I realized in that during that residency was that a lot of the the Black youth that I was working with were really ashamed of being kind of associated with African culture. And they were quite resistant at the beginning of the residency. They weren't as welcoming and as open to me as I naively kind of expected. But one of the things that I realized that, you know, through time, when they saw how empowering and how much joy and how beautiful djembe culture was from Mali and from Guinea, I could see how some of their resistance and the hesitation to engage in the culture started to melt away. It was through, you know, getting their tongues into the African language. It was through feeling the joy of the moves, of feeling who they could be through the commitment to being a part of the rhythm family, of being a part of the dance family, that they were able to see the connection, their reflection in this culture. And that was a super informative and powerful experience for me as an educator. It really fueled the path that I have been on. One of my personal experiences was visiting a village where my teacher, Mustafa Bangor's father, is from, in Kifinda. And I was able to witness a bagate ritual. I was able to see the masquerade dance, the parade of the village coming together to welcome Mustafa and his international guests. And you know, just the lineage and the depth of being in the immersed in the culture where djembe music and djembe dance, one of them was born. And one of the songs, to finish, I want to share with you one of the songs that I learned from Mustafa Bangora. And whenever I sing it, it invokes the memory of being in beautiful Kifinda. Bagadi badasewa, iyo. Bagadi badasewa. Bagadi badasewa Kifinda. Eala yo Kifinda. Thank you.
Oh, Gia. Beautiful, beautiful. So hi, everyone. My name is Elvie Deloise Underwood Schooley. I am the daughter of Jimmy and Eloise Underwood. I am the granddaughter of Elvie Dudley Robinson. I am the great-granddaughter of Celia Cleghorn. I am the great-great-granddaughter of Nancy Cleghorn. She is a maternal descendant from the country of Cameroon, off of the continent, the beautiful continent of Africa. I live on the stolen land of the Choctaw Indians here in central Alabama. I was born and raised in this area, and I returned to this area a year and a half ago and launched my nonprofit organization. It's called Drum the Program. Drum is an acronym that stands for Drum Rhythms Unification Movement. Our mission and goal is to provide educational experiences of West African drum and dance through social emotional development skills that teach goal setting, self-management, and building a sense of belonging. And I feel very honored as a woman and a woman of color who has dreadlocks, little crystal earrings here, and this off-the-shoulder African print top that is burgundy, to have had the honor to travel to Africa numerous times and to study with my master teachers. And I would like to acknowledge and honor my teachers, Mustafa Bangura and Yusuf Kumbasa, as well as one of the most inspirational women that I have ever met in my life, Mabiba Benge from the Congo. And I'm very honored to be a part of this project because it feels very real for me to be able to talk about spirituality in connection to African dance. I define my spirituality as a deep resonance that I feel in knowing that I am a part of the whole of the universe and that I am a reflection of the divine. This hasn't always been my journey. My moment of transformation and impact came in this art form when, prior to discovering African dance, I had been married for 15 years in a very dysfunctional relationship. There was a lot of spiritual abuse and emotional abuse. One day, after I had been divorced for 2 years, I walked into an African dance class. And he moved with grace, power, joy, and confidence as a Black man. And all I wanted was to feel and possess that which I had just witnessed. He danced without shame, and I had never known that energy. He permitted me to express myself in the dance as I mimicked him in every way, smiling while dancing. In that moment, it released me from self-judgment, and it released me from shame, and it brought me my first time connection to Africa. According to neurologists, when we smile, it spurs a chemical reaction in our brain, releasing the chemicals, the hormones of dopamine, which increases our feelings of happiness, and serotonin, which is associated with releasing stress. I walked out of my first African dance class and walked into the purpose of my life. As a dance teacher, we give our students permission to shine when we allow ourselves to embody the spirit of the dance. I connect to African dance spiritually as a ritual of gratitude and healing. I came to African dance broken. And when I discovered African dance, I became whole. I realized that it was a tool and it transformed my life. It gave me an opportunity to express, discover, surrender, connect, and to heal. I have now learned a deep sense of belonging through African dance. Anywhere that I travel in the world, knowing and experiencing this art form, I can go to an African dance class and they can play a rhythm and I can hear it and I can join in that experience because the language never changes. That's the beauty of this art form. You can travel to any continent and someone can tell you, today we are going to dance Titiba. And you know what that feels like. That's huge. I don't know of any other common language, even the English language is not like that. But African drum and dance has that power. Just like Ojia, I too have visited the village of Kifenda with Mustafa Bangura. While visiting Kifinda in Guinea, West Africa, I got to witness how the music of the drum and dance were the lifeblood of the village. The drum played to welcome us. The drum played to honor the sacrifice of the goat that fed us. The drum played to celebrate the wedding. The drum played in honor of the full moon. The drum and dances of West Africa are the needle and thread that's used to connect us to each other and to humanity. And this is the healing. I practice a ritual of gratitude in honoring those who have come before me. My ancestors, they brought this art form with them to this continent. And for that, I am grateful. I feel that it's super important when we are curating African drum and dance classes that the community is designed around intention. I advocate that these programs are structured in a place with a value statement that says something like this: cultural heritage defines identity, and any minimization of that minimizes those who identify with the culture as part of their heritage. All of us belong to the continent of Africa. I believe that. I believe that West African drum and dance is an innate community building platform, but I have been in places where, as a person of color, I didn't feel welcomed in an African drum and dance class. And I feel that that's not what Africa is really about. I feel that the key to creating a culture inside of the community is where, when we establish a value statement, that's where we get to check issues of privilege at the door. Because those types of things are toxic. And what we really need in this world are more experiences that, like our West African drum and dance community settings. When I get the opportunity to teach, I begin with the intention. We create that circle, and in that moment, I want everybody present in the room, drummers and dancers, to have the buy-in to articulate, why are you here? And what do you need from this experience? Because in the moment that we begin to articulate what and why, we begin to heal. Once we have set that intention of why the individual is here, I feel that it's really important for us to teach experiences of drum and dance that is at the level of the student. It's important for people to feel successful, not to feel like they cannot achieve because it's too much. I feel that what has been lost in translation is that our classes have become more of a fitness lens. But it's really important for us to reclaim the real intention of this cultural art form. The music and dance of West Africa through these drum rhythms is designed for healing our spirituality. And we all benefit from that. So my call to action is this: if your current community program does not have a value statement that includes people of color to feel welcome, contact us at Drum the Program. So it's been an honor. You can find out more work that we do with youth and communities at drumtheprogram.org. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also join our virtual advocacy workshop, where we speak to and learn how reflection, acceptance, and accountability help all of us in the process of undoing racism.
Thank you so much to Ojia and LV for being so real and raw and sharing these powerful points of view. At this moment, we are going to take a short break for you to get your water, get your beverages, whatever you need to do. And when we come back, we are going to see Miss Cara Mack, and we'll finish with Uzo Wangpa, and we will have time for conversation and questions after that. So here we go into our break.
Why
All right, welcome back, everyone. The music you were hearing before the event started and during the intermission is by the one and only Cara Mack, who is going to be our next presenter. Cara, you ready? There she is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cara Mack, and I have off screen my new baby girl, Sayla. So you may hear her in and out of my presentation. It's wonderful to be a mother of 3. But once again, my name is Cara Mack. I am a Renaissance woman. That's what I would like to say. I am a singer, dancer, choreographer, director, producer, and founder of the trademark brand Africa in America. I started it in 2014 to shine a light on the African diasporic music and dance culture that's cultivated here in America, due to the fact that as I travel all the time to West African countries, people would see me dance and they would say, "Where did you learn?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, there's so many amazing Guinean teachers, Senegalese teachers, teachers from Cote d'Ivoire, teachers from Burkina Faso that's in America." And they're like, "Oh my God, like you're learning our culture there." And I began to, over time, see that on top of me needing to create something to show other African Americans of the African diasporic culture cultivated here, I also needed to share to those Africans who have no idea that since the 50s, West African artists have been here and have actually been teaching all of us what we now know. So in order to create that bridge, I created the brand Africa in America. Spirituality. On top of being the Renaissance artist that I am, and that since I was a little girl, I knew I came into this world to do. I also understood early that I had a great interest in terms of religion, world religions. And so I have my BA in religious studies and my master's in divinity. And I wanted to get those degrees due to the fact that we have many people who are, simply put, miseducated concerning spirituality, concerning Black people in the diaspora and what it means to be spiritual. And so with me being born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina, and being raised in a certain way and being taught Negro spirituals and being taught to have strong faith, no matter what, no matter the trials and tribulations. Look at the resilience of your ancestors who are here and where we came from. I was taught that from an early age. And with me moving out to Los Angeles, I did not really have a focus towards really studying African diasporic movement. But when I saw that there were so many steps that I was already doing within the dance vernacular in Columbia, South Carolina, the Southern culture, the marching band culture, it's like something jumped in my heart to be able to take all of these styles seriously so that I could communicate to other people who maybe are only focused on those styles, that we are all basically doing the same thing. And so I did that through movement, and it's the same thing with spirituality. If dancers look at each style that we do as a language, it is also that way in terms of spirituality. Within our own ethnic groups and within our own quote unquote races of people, we are all attempting to the best of our ability to reconnect back to the God source. And with Africans, and Black people of the diaspora, music and dance is a huge part of that. It is 100, I would negate what I just said. Not a huge, but 100% a part of connecting back to the source. And so with me choosing to take dance styles like Afro-Brazilian dance, Afro-Cuban dance, Sabar, Manding rhythms, Congolese dance, with me choosing to go deep and dive into every one of those styles, I am also understanding that spiritually, I am communicating my language and the languages that I'm doing to others. I'm communicating strength. I'm communicating resilience. I am communicating that though I have had a hard day today, I'm going to smile. I'm going to present joy. I'm communicating even my ancestor stories, who probably I have no idea about. If I compartmentalize and section it in my head, I probably don't know the stories, but when I dance, I do. When I dance, I'm able to translate those stories. And that's how connected dance and music, African dance and music, is to spirituality. And every time that I teach, and even every time that I am in a situation where people don't really want to hear that, I make sure that there is no separating that. And we have to begin to understand that there is no separation between spirituality and African music and dance. That is the heartbeat of everything. And so if I'm on a Grammy stage and an artist is asking me, why are you doing this movement? I explain to them without having to feel like I'm running away from the God subject, or I'm running away from the healing subject, or I'm running away from things that are very close to my heart. And this is the reason why I've gone so deep into educating myself through teachers like Mustafa is the bomb. Mustafa has been brought up so many times. The reason why I personally will never, ever lose respect for Gran Mustafa Bangura is because in 2007, during a coup, when I was there to study, when they banned drumming and they banned music in totality, he taught me anyway at his house. So in terms of risking his life and his family's life, I will never, ever, 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 ever belittle that man. So this is the reason why I do what I do. And yeah, I just want y'all to take away the fact that there is no separation between the two. It is the same. African dance, spirituality, one and the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cara. And we're going to move on to Uzo.
Gave me so much life, Cara. I was back behind my camera going, oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes, thank you so much. Ndewo nu ndị be anyị. Aha m bụ Uzamaka Nkemdilin Nwamba. Greetings, everybody. I am Uzamaka Nkemdilin Nwamba. I am an Igbo woman, dark brown colored, black micro locks called sister locks down to my neck, with a yellow shirt on in my au natural look. In order to understand who I am, you need to understand where I have come from. I am the daughter of Uzamaka and Ebele Chukwu, granddaughter of Nwovuako and Nwarashiono, Chidiobu and Madabuchi, great-granddaughter of Udu and Ugonna, Nwamoga, great-great-granddaughter of Akpodomanu. Abụ m onye Igbo. I am an Igbo woman. I grew up in Nigeria, West Africa as a child and migrated here as a teenager. I am Black. I am a Pan-Africanist. I am an Obanje. And I currently live in the unceded Oloni territory, also now known as San Pablo, San Francisco Bay Area, California. My first dance teacher is my father, Ebele Chukwuwamba, who was a professional dancer for the Igbo people representing the Eastern region before we were split up into Enugu, Abia, Imo, Anambra, Ebonyi. And I know it's still going to continue to split. You know, I arrived here on Turtle Island, and you know, if anybody knows anything about the story of immigrants here, the first thing that we are advised to do or asked to do is to forget where you've come from and try to assimilate as much as possible to be American. So strip yourself of your clothing, strip yourself of your tongue, strip yourself of your hair, become more Eurocentric, sound more Eurocentric, dance more Eurocentric, pray more Eurocentric. Everything must go. And so as a child, that was the first thing that I had to do. I lost my accent. You know, as Dr. Cruz Banks was mentioning, you know, I was that girl that was ashamed to be African. Why? Because we were made fun of, right? But deep down inside, I had a deep craving for my, you know, it wasn't even a deep craving. It's like my purpose. My purpose here on this land is to continue that on. But I needed to go through some heavy, straight up heavy beat downs, you know, emotionally. My health was in jeopardy. I got really, really, really sick emotionally, physically. And it wasn't until I connected deeply into my spirituality that I began to feel some kind of resolution, and still till today, continue to feel the resolution. And so I was introduced to dances of Africa by white women. They were the ones who had access to this information, right? So proximity mattered. And I continued to study with them and dance with them and perform with them, even though it hurt me to my heart that I couldn't even see myself in them, you know? It was really painful, but you know, I was like, listen, I need to continue to connect to the thing. So the movement, not the person, the movement, not the person. That was something that a chant that I kind of maybe internalized. And so it wasn't until I met, again here, his name goes again, Yusuf Kombasa. We should just have his picture up here next to us because, you know, I was able to see exactly what I needed. I was able to feel exactly what I needed to continue on with this journey. And then right alongside him, Mabiba Benge, Musi Congo, you know, Manju Kone, Mama Naomi Diouf, right? These are women that I needed to see, African women, right? Just like I saw my mamas and her sisters and her cousins and the aunties do these movements. They were not ballet type movements. These were everyday movements, right? You know, and so it was like, yeah, that's when it clicked, you know. My day-to-day work, I teach at the School of Nursing in Ho Chi Minh in Oakland, and I teach community and public health nursing. And part of my role is to help folks remember that bringing in heritage and culture is important to our well-being, is important to our health. It's part of the reason why I started the Uzo Method Project, which is, you know, a process of re-indigenizing ourselves, right? Re-indigenizing our tongue, re-indigenizing our throat, our bodies, our blood, right? And for me, my medium is the movement and the rhythms. And so I don't really have a lot to give, but I have a lot of questions to ask, right? You know, what is African dance? Why are we still using that language, knowing that no one ever asks, no one ever says, you know, I'm going to an Asian dance class, or I'm going to an American dance class. Why are we still doing that? How do these rhythms connect to our own ancestry, right? How would our ancestors engage with each other? How would they feel, right? What happens when there's internal conflict, like racial conflict, ethnic conflict within us when we're engaging in these spaces, you know, religious conflict? What might God say? What would the living elders say or do? What would my mother say if I decided to go off and teach Gambian dance and you know you ain't never stepped foot in Gambia? All right. What if I were to burst out into my musical movements and dances in front of my classroom or my workplace or my meeting? How would the room react? See, I grew up in Enugu, Nigeria, West Africa. That's the Southeast region. We're known as the Biafrans, and we talk about that revolution. We were the people that were like, post-independence, no, you're not going to abuse us. And if you continue to abuse us, we're going to secede and create our own nation and do our own thing. Unfortunately, in the late 60s, early 70s, we got reabsorbed back into Nigeria. We lost the war, 1 million people died, and we're continuing to salvage whatever was lost, post-colonialism, post-slavery, and now post-war. And my father taught me that the Catholic Church in our village, Sacred Heart, was the first one that was built in that region. And the people weren't coming to the church, right? Because my grandmother is the first generation of the Christian, so it's really that close, right? My grandmother is the first Christian. Before her, it was a battle. They were resisting. And so in the church, people weren't coming. And it was a Catholic church. And they were losing money, right? Because people come to church, you pay money, you keep the thing going. So they had to send a message to the Pope all the way in Rome to say, listen, Pope, people are not coming to the church. You have to allow them to play the drums. If you allow them to play the drums and dance, then maybe they'll come. And so the Pope actually gave permission to allow for the drums because before then, it wasn't allowed. Can you imagine that, right? We're talking about the rhythms, the dances, and spirituality. But in the churches, it wasn't allowed. So the drums came back and the rhythms came back and the people came. And if we know anything today about what makes the church what it is the rhythm, right? It is the music. It is the movement. And so as we move on, as I kind of close this off, right? I would just like for us all to remember, what is the purpose? Why are you here? What is your contribution? If you have privilege, how are you using or abusing it? My healing has come, that's my alarm. My healing has come specifically and directly from my engagement with these mediums. So I thank you very much. And I think Jyoti, you're up.
Thank you so much, Uzo. I didn't want your alarm to go off. Like one event for each of you so we can just hear you for the full hour and a half. I would like to, at this point, invite all the panelists back. If you could come back and turn your video on and let us see your faces and that beautiful baby. And I really just want to invite you all to have a conversation together. Uzo, you just brought up all of these questions, and I realize some of those are your internal, spiritual questions and questions, but conversations between you and your ancestors. But I'm wondering if I could impose.
Not just me, but yes.
Okay, yes. I'm wondering if I can impose upon you to get us started and either drawing from one of those questions or some other concept or idea or question that came from hearing your other panelists.
Yes, actually, I think one of the questions, I had so many questions from so many of the panelists, but, I'm curious about the story that Cara shared, the story you shared, Cara, about being in Guinea, and the drums and the music was banned, right? A lot of people don't understand the effect, right? The effect of that on the soul. So, perhaps you could speak a little bit more to that. Like, what was it like to be there, knowing that this was banned, and Yusuf being like, we don't care. This is the way, this is the revolution, so I'm curious about that.
Yeah, Mustafa, actually. It was actually a situation where I thought that before, because give the context, Lassana Conte was in office. He was very, very sick and did not pass any laws or did not listen to the people, and the people just got, sick of it and was like, you need to leave. And so the people rose up. And so the email that I received from the government was, oh, everything is cool, so you can get on the plane. And they declared martial law in the air. So when we landed in martial law, 1 o'clock in the morning. And that's when they basically said in Conakry, you had 1 hour not to shoot. So imagine me for 23 hours every day shooting. And then from, I believe, 5 to 6 a.m., it would be silent. 6:01, shooting again. And so after about 2.5, 3 weeks of sitting in the house of listening to that, and they said, oh, you could go to Mustafa now to study. It was still banned. But when Mustafa, I guess, saw like, oh my God, this chick must be really hungry for this information. And I'm already teaching my daughter, so I'll just let her join. So it was really like boot camp. And it showed me, even when he said the last day, because we didn't use any drums throughout him teaching me actual steps, but soloing, the art of soloing, he said, you know what? I'm going to call all of the djembe folas, the dunu folas in my neighborhood, and we're going to drum, regardless of what this government says. And I'm like, oh my God. And to see the joy in their hearts and their eyes, I still get chills down my spine. And that's when I knew and understood what spirit is. Because it's like that spirituality. It's like a person that's playing accompaniment, that's not even playing lead, has the joy of a person who's playing lead. And I'm watching that in real time. And so it was just a light bulb that went off in my head that when I came back, it was like, certain things couldn't really offend me or go that deep with me because I saw spirit, like in the midst of people telling them cannot do what you can. And I'm watching that and so that feeling and seeing that and being a part of that will never leave me. Never, ever leave me. On top of that, I was pregnant, I was sick, I was throwing up, and it was a struggle to get that information. So that will never leave me either. So yes, that's why that leaves a great impression on my heart and on my spirit.
Wow. Yeah, that just you sharing that, it just brought up so much, so much in me. I don't know, so much rage, so much joy, just so much in there. But I'm just curious about what the other folks.
Yeah, I have a question for you though. With you bringing up the fact that you, in terms of the quote unquote, some of the dance styles, African dance styles that were brought to you by white women. I wanted to know the process by which you came to, this feels really uncomfortable to me, to then appreciating what you learned down the line. I just want to know that journey internally. How did that work out for you?
Well, here's the thing, right? Being a dark-skinned woman, immigrant, with an accent, you know, I'm automatically marginalized. Yeah. In all the spaces I go to, it feels as you know, you could just feel it. I could feel it. So when I was dancing with this woman, this was in Florida at the time. I don't know if anybody knows anything about Florida, but you know, I just never really felt safe there. And so dancing with her, she would say things that I knew were not true. Like in Africa, we don't have phones. So we would do a drum call, you know, like, and I'd be on stage like, huh? But I still have to go, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like, you know, there was a time we did this performance and this African-American woman came up to me straight up, looked me in the eyes and said, "You were a disgrace." And there was something about what she shared with me that felt real. I just didn't have the words for it as an immigrant because I didn't have context. You know, I didn't have the racial lens. I didn't have all that. I just wanted to freaking dance. You know, I just wanted to feel connected. And so, you know, I feel like it just took me a little bit of a little while. It's the same question like asking, when did you know you were Black? It's like I knew I was an Igbo woman. I didn't know I was Black until Florida taught me, because what that meant was that I was less than. What it meant was that I needed to not be in certain spaces. What it meant was that you can be in this space, but for this much time and for this much credit, and like go out of the way because now the big thing needs to happen. There was just something about the feeling, you know, I can't really articulate it, but it was the feeling, which was very different than when I was dancing with African women. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't teach that. It's just like it just clicks and you're like, oh my goodness, like, what have I been doing all this while? You know, so, and, you know, again, Ojia and I, we talk about this quite frequently. You know, what is that about? Maybe, I don't know, you can jump in, Ojia, but, you know, for me, it's a feeling. And, you know, again, I like to talk about my nervous system doing this, even though I'm dancing, it's like, and then when I'm with the African women, it just does something like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
It's basically replacing spirit with politics. And replacing spirit with it's the politics and the pain of struggle that's replacing the breath. Because spirit, the essence of spirit, the language of spirit means breath. So replacing the breath out of it, which eradicates all of the extra stuff. But thank you for answering. That's interesting. LV, Ojia, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have a question. I have enjoyed everybody's articulation. I would like to acknowledge for Uzo the story about the drum being brought back into the Catholic Church there in Nigeria. I grew up a preacher's daughter in a Pentecostal church. And so one of the things that I have had to make a part of my story here in Alabama when I'm in our community is to connect the dots historically of what our gospel churches are still holding forth is that cultural tradition of the drum and the dance. But it's been a very interesting journey in that there's still some shame that comes up. And I feel that the shame really is from a religious perspective, not a spiritual one. And so part of my work has been to just embody that without judgment of myself and others, that the drum and the dance that I get to witness and experience in the church is still our heritage. And it's a beautiful thing. And it doesn't need to look like this one thing, but the individual can express that breath of spirit at any time that they are moved to. And it's not exclusive, but it's an inclusive experience around this art form. And I'm really thankful to get to take you guys' wisdom in that. And Cara, I'm so glad you survived the coup. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. I didn't have that kind of experience there at Mustafa's house, but I'm glad that you know, he's that type of teacher that he has this strict discipline about him, and and this conviction about his art and the way that he delivers it. And it's nice to know that he took good care of you too.
Yeah. Well, my a favorite line from him there was, "Oh, I see you can pick up choreography fast. Okay, now dance." I said, I am dancing. I don't know what you know, it was very interesting. But yeah, I really appreciate that moment in my life.
Yeah, I too have had my moment of being his student, but it's not that statement that I get told. MV, you are late. I'm always trying really hard with the dance, but you know, it's like learning how to walk again. So, but I appreciate the learning.
Yes, 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 yes.
One thing that I wanted to jump back into is Uzo's invocation around the terminology that we use to talk about our practice, right? Why are we calling our dance African dance? And I think that that's a really, really important conversation to start, because one of the things that I have learned, you know, in the sort of global connectedness experiences that I've had is that people really value specificity, right? I remember the first time that I went to study dance, it was actually in Kenya. So my journey actually on the continent began in the Rift Valley. Um, and I got there. I was probably like 20, and I got there, and I was at the University of Nairobi, and I was like, I'm here to study East African dance. And people were looking at me like, what's East African dance, right? And this went on for weeks. Like nobody was able to break it down or like figure out why this question was so inappropriate. And then finally, someone said to me, you know, here in Kenya, we don't actually have East African dance. We have Kikuyu dance, we have Swahili dance, and the list goes on, right? Luya dance. And that was a revelation moment for me on my journey of learning about the importance of cultural context with dance. And I found that in my experiences in the Pacific as well, that people really value specificity, and I think that, you know, I always try to contextualize the dances that I'm specifically speaking from. So, you know, for example, in my class that I teach, African diasporic dance, we start with djembe dance. I really call it djembe for my students. And I tell them where I learned it, but I'm really interested in you know, hearing from you guys about this topic, because in many ways I feel like this is part of the decolonizing work, the redigenizing of the conversation around, you know, African dance, and really claiming the landscape from which these dances have emerged, right? There's a reason why Yamama has particular qualities and flavors about it. You got to know the people. You got to know the land. There's a reason why Kuku has these particular arm gestures, for example, right? And I think that because African dance has become such a global export, you know, moving around the world, a lot of these nuances are starting to get lost. And people are teaching, they're focusing on teaching, it like fitness, or they're focusing on the choreography, and some of these conversations around, you know, acknowledging the people, the cultural genesis, the cultural brilliance that this music and this dance reflects, I think needs more light shined on it.
I agree completely. I feel that there's such an appropriation of the culture that happens when we take things out of the context and we just minimize it for the sake of the fitness lens. And there's so much more that we can take from the experience when we actually understand the ethnic tribe and acknowledge there's some educational material to be learned about their struggle, their story. And I feel if we could do that more, then there is less commoditizing the art form and really allowing for the art form to take root. And I think that there's also a need for this idea of technique versus complex choreography. So technique is really important, because then that would give back to what you were just saying about the loss of gestures in movement based upon particular rhythms. But I think it's up to us to value that as descendants of Africa.
Cara, can you jump in there? Because I know you got a mantra, respect the technique.
Exactly. I appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody in the industry who knows me, who's ever been to any audition that I've been a part of, know that if I see on your resume under training, you put African dance, you will see fire come out of my head and every pore of my body. And the way that I show it is I look you directly in the eye and I say, oh, what styles? And if you cannot tell me, oh, I do sabar, I do, some Congolese dance, but then you name rhythms. Like, you have to really show me that since you put that under training, because the reason why I started that is I got so mad that a person that studies ballet can make a career off of only knowing one style. But if you choose to do African diasporic movement, you have to know 10, 12 to be able to say that you are a proficient dancer. However, a ballet dancer only knows ballet, and they are a proficient dancer with technique. And I say to myself that it has to be a period of time where these styles under this umbrella called African diasporic movement has to gain some type of respect at a certain point. And so, yeah, I never say African dance. I always say African diasporic movement or styles. I have to put, because it's like you already get in your head that, okay, I may not have it listed yet as to what Cara is going to do, but I already have the understanding that there are many different styles that's under this umbrella. Mm-hmm. And then number two, in terms of just simply, and I apologize if I'm offending anyone, but I also hate nations. I hate Guinean dance. I hate Senegalese dance. I hate Nigerian dance, because this is like post 1863 when you're talking about countries. I always, if I teach a dance class or whatever, I always direct it to the ethnic group, because that is what preceded this whole drawing of the line by Europeans. And so that's why even with people that'll come to they'll be like, oh, I get it. I can do Manjani that's taught by someone from Burkina Faso, that's taught by someone from the Ivory Coast, that's taught by someone from Guinea, that's taught by someone from Mali, that's taught by some, it's like, yes, because the ethnic group is what? You know, and so stuff like that, I have to make sure that I'm breaking down so people won't get confused, because I hate allegiances that goes on in the community. Like oh, I love this thing, or I love that thing. It's like, no, you love it all. And, you know, appreciate it all, because it's not like the group of people that started this and are still cultivating, they're living. So you have to put respect on their names, the people that are still breathing this and living this. You know, the women that are actually in the secret society of Manjani are still living. They're still, you know, initiating these girls into their secret society to this day. So when I dance, I can't, once again, separate the breath from the movement just because I'm American. And just because, you know, we have this thing called kick that part out of the door. What's the dance step? 5, 6, 7, 8. No. And I'm happy to be put in a position where I can be able to explain. I'm not just giving 5, 6, 7, 8. I can be able to say, this is the reason why you do this. Oh, Orishas, this ethnic group, not just, oh, it's African dance. It's only this ethnic group. You're not going to see Orisha movement anywhere else other than this ethnic group. And so we have to just make sure that we are more intentional in doing that and respecting the technique, so that those people that are still living there won't look at you like, hold up, no, that's not what we do. Even though you're trying to say, oh, I'm embracing everything African dance, yeah. It's like, no, these are still living, breathing human bodies that are still invoking these presences today. So we have to respect that as well. Thank you for asking.
Cara, you know, this is really interesting. And I think this is like for everybody, because there's a question in the chat box from Muriel. How do we amplify accessibility of African drum and dance for children of the African diaspora? Many classes for children I've encountered are in predominantly European American schools. What are y'all's ideas to make sure that our children have access to their birthrights?
LV.
I was about to say, LV, speak with your program.
So one of the things that Drum the Program is launching beginning in September is our platform will be available on teachable.com. And that platform is built out for a 1-month study of one rhythm. And we've got some great buy-in from this amazing drummer named Bongo Sidibe, who will be teaching the drum classes. Also, we are still in negotiation with our master teacher, Yusuf Kumbasa, who will be providing the techniques of the rhythm. We're not looking to, what we want is to empower our kids to want to continue to learn about the cultural art form and use it as an educational platform for them to also learn about their own cultural heritage and identity and history. Like for instance, in our first module, the rhythm is Yole from the Timini tribe of Sierra Leone. We're also incorporating the economic, social studies lens of history, geography, geology. And then what happened with the Timini tribe? Where did they come from? Where did they come from out of Guinea down into Sierra Leone when the migration happened? And where did they go when they were taken from the island of Bonse there in Sierra Leone to this part of the world as enslaved Africans and returned to Freetown? And then what happened to this ethnic tribe who are now part of that infrastructure and a percentage of that population? So yes, Drum the Program, we're trying to do the opportunity to get this art form on an online platform But what I would like to see happen too is for people like yourself, Cara, to become a voice in, for lack of better words, ordaining people to teach this art form. Where you have to go through all sorts of belt training to be a black belt, right? In karate. Our art form is just as impactful and valuable. But what is lost is a structure that says, this is what's needed for you to understand. And then this is how you get to the other side so that you can share this cultural heritage and acknowledge the truth of it. Because there's so much about all these other places of history in the world, but when it comes to Africa, and our history is verbal, it's oral, but we also need a structure. And in that structure, I feel comes the technique. And it doesn't need to be easy. It needs to be a challenge, because this is the lifeblood of our teachers. You know, they struggle in this time of life right now to survive because we are having to socially distance. But they carry with them the embodiment of this, and there needs to be a way that it can be kept in a organized manner to give people that blessing. And part of that blessing is really to acknowledge the history and the truth of it. So yeah, we hope to launch our platform by September 1st on Teachable. You can find out more information at grow.drumtheprogram.org and get in our loop. Follow us on social media. But we teach through social emotional development skills that empower our youth to set goals, self-management, and know that they belong. They come from a place that is rich, and that their identity as African American is a sense of power, never to be shamed. Thank you, ladies, for that opportunity.
Thank you, LB. That was awesome. One of the things that I wanted to just quickly say is I think when we're working with youth, it's important to, provide them access to their African heritage, but that we also remember not to leapfrog over their Black African American heritage as well. That was one of the things that I've learned just now coming back to the States and talking to my students. And I recently designed this course called Black Dance and Popular Culture, where we look at folks like James Brown and Tina Turner and Michael Jackson as sort of icons of the Black dance genius, right? And that class is a really good stepping stone for them to understand the African diasporic lineage and how things like musicality, like improvisation, the importance of the circle is just, that's part of this ongoing story of the Black African diaspora. And I also have realized too that it's important to acknowledge like those original evolutions of our heritage through dance, like the ring shout to the juba, to the jazz, to the second line, to hip hop, to house. That's all under the family of African diasporic dance, dances that descend from African people, from African culture. And I think that that's a good way of grabbing the youth, right? Because as we know, djembe music, balafon music, whatever the musical repertoire it is that we're working with, it can be really hard to process. It takes people years You know, I feel like if I don't listen to djembe music for like 6 months, I get jacked up. Like you really have to commit, you know? And so I think, Uzo, we've talked about this, the power of familiarity, of music familiarity, right? And how we start building those connections for our youth so that they can see, you know, what you all are doing right now, you know, is an evolution of this and this and this.
I'm so happy you brought that up. Oh my God. I am so happy you brought that up. Mainly because I am such a proud country girl.
Mm-hmm.
I am basically coming from a situation where my family made sure that I know where I came from. And not just in terms of the transatlantic slave trade, no, just in terms of 6 generations of people here that have done so much for America. You know, like just understanding, like, Cara, you see South Carolina now. South Carolina used to be called Negro land because it was more blacks than whites. Understand why the KKK actually became the KKK, because it was so many black millionaires. Like this was embedded in my brain. Like Black Lives Matter. This is like, so I knew that I mattered, like point blank, period. And so for me to have that type of pride in where I come from and in the dance styles and things of that nature, 2 people that I respect so much, Mama D. Keita, for taking the time to answer the millions of questions I had for him, 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning while he's trying to relax. I'm asking him, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? Because it was so important for me to connect it so that the youth here could understand that this wasn't random for me. It's like I went to Gorée Island and I saw the route from Gorée to Charleston, South Carolina, direct route.
Wow.
So in terms of quote unquote African dance or West African dance, I'm teaching you this not because this is like me looking at the continent of Africa going eeny, meeny, miny, mo. This is directly the region from whence like we come from. Gullah, short for Angola.
Ooh.
In terms of Mabiba, second person that has the utmost respect. She's my grandma. She has given me so much information. She will come beside me with a Congolese rhythm and ask me, what does this look like? And I'm basically doing the Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's like people, elders in my life that because of me showing the hunger to want to know, because that's first, like within African spirituality, within the makeup of the culture, the elders need to see that you're trying to get the info first. They're not going to just be like, I'm going to spread all of this precious information that I worked my butt off to get, number one. I'm not going to do that. You have to work your butt off to get, and I pushed. And so people like Mama D, people like Mabiba began to say, okay, peep this, Cara, peep this. Now go dig yourself. I'm not going to share everything, but go continue to dig yourself. But I'm going to point you in this direction or that direction. But things of that nature where I began to see the connections. I always go into classes now and say, this isn't random, you guys. This is the root. African-American wise, this is the root. So also when you see so much Orisha movement and things from the Yoruba people, now you're understanding a lot of the people from the Senegambia area, and historically, a lot of them died, and a lot of people from the Yoruba ethnic group lived. So that's also why in South Carolina you have that temple that basically housed a Yoruba family, like of Babalaos, and they kept that tradition alive in South Carolina. So things of that nature where it's you have to continuously tell the youth, this isn't random. This isn't just me being on a wave of Beyonce doing Black is King or da 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 da. Like, this is a direct connection to what you would be doing 9 times out of 10 if you were in this region. This is why I'm teaching you the music from those ethnic groups or the dances from those ethnic groups. I make sure that specificity is like known so they can say, oh, okay, I get it. It's not just, them just trying to make me feel better as a person. It's like, no, it's a direct connection. So that's why when you see jazz, when you see, modern, when you see all of these different dances, even with marching band, all of these different things that we've cultivated here, you will then understand why it looks so similar to the movements when you see it there. So yeah, I always make sure that, of course, yes, African-American wise, yes, we have a huge culture here and directly connected to particular ethnic groups in the West and Central. But yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Whew. I hate to do this because I think we could all listen to you all day long. You've given us so much to think about, so much to feel. I know personally I'm going to rewatch this and listen again because there's so much. I want to thank you, the 4 of you, from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank everybody watching today, our ASL interpreters, Robin and Andrea, and all the people who made this possible. And we're going to get a video from Duniya's music director. Don't think Bongo Sidibe did not make an appearance today, because he made a video about the center, just asking people to donate if they can, and letting people know what's going on there. It was made previous to the fires. So just so you know, in the beginning where he's like, the weather's really nice and the air is, none of this had happened yet, because that is not what we're experiencing right now in the Bay Area. So we'll end with that. But again, one more time, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing, your practices, your beliefs, all your philosophies, your singing, your dancing, your words. I think this is to be continued, because there's so much more, I know. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Duniya!
Bongo.
Hi guys, this is me again one more time, Bongo CDB, with Duniya Dancing Drum Company, and I wanted to say it's a beautiful day today in the Bay. This weekend been very wonderful and nice day, but also I'm asking you guys to help us meet our goal with the GoFundMe with Duniya Center for Art and Education in Guinea. We had last month we had a fire in our building in Guinea, where we were trying to extend our COVID-19 fights in Guinea. So please consider donating. Anything makes sense to us, and any little sense is appreciated, because this is about saving life. And I appreciate all the people who already has been donating, and please keep continually supporting us. And and follow us and check out our websites. And this is the time that we can be there for each other. And right now we need your help. So please consider donating to our GoFund, so we can save life. Okay? All right, cool. That's all I have to say. I love you guys and I miss everybody. Let's keep the hope, something will come through, inshallah. I believe and I believe and I believe again. Love you all. Thank you.